each of us can convince one or two or three people on the importance of monetary reform. You've got 7, 8, 9 months to do it. So, and we're ready to help in any way possible with materials, with explanations. Don't be bashful. Call on me. Please stay in touch throughout this coming year. We still have a half-a-day session tomorrow, and then we have our beach party, and some of you are going to swim a mile and thereby really earn your Magnificent Mile t-shirt. And these are priceless items. You cannot buy them. You have to swim a mile. Some things it's not a matter of money. Of course, other things are. No questions, please. You've used your quota of questions, haven't you? No. Okay. We're going to take this time to do something that should have been done a long, long, long time ago. And those of you who are familiar with the people that we're going to honor know that. And those of you who are not, well, you'll learn more about them. I'm trying to figure out which order to present our Lifetime Achievement Awards to various persons in, and there's really no way to decide here. So I should just mix them up. Dick Distelhorst. Dick Distelhorst. Relax. After. I'm going to tell you just a bit about Dick. You've already heard him talk a couple of times, so you know something. Dick is from Burlington, Iowa. He was married for 60 years with his late wife, Virginia. He has one son, Dan, one daughter, Rita, and 4 grandchildren, and great-grandfather to 6 great-grandchildren. Is that right, or did you say you had another one?
No, this is the 6th one just born.
6th one? Well, that's great. Fantastic. He's a fighter. He fought in the Marines in World War II and then returned to start his family business career in Burlington, Iowa. Most of his business life was spent in the retail wholesale grocery business, culminating as a vice president of operations of a large wholesale chain. His stepfather got him interested in reforming the monetary system decades ago. And ever since, he's been studying the money system to the point that many people assume he has a PhD in economics. He's been dedicated to fixing our monetary system for the good of all our citizens. Most of his adult life, his commitment to this cause, and his determined study have given him a thorough understanding of the problem. And I can attest to that. He does understand this very, very deeply. And with our present monetary system, and more importantly, a clear vision of what should be done to correct the problem. So Dick started the first chapter of AMI last October, I believe, or November. It was the first meeting, and he's held a meeting ever since in Burlington, Iowa. I attended one of them in May of this year, where we ran into by accident the legislative assistant of very powerful Congressman Jim Leach. I believe Jim is his first name. And that assistant saw our meeting there in the restaurant, and immediately she saw Dick, and she knew exactly what we were up to. And I'm quite certain that got reported back to Congressman Leach. So we look forward to a long and powerful relationship with Dick in building that chapter. And now, if you would come up.
was 85 last month.
There's Gibb.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Next in line, Ken Bohnsack. These are fellows who should have been honored the way Nobel Prize winners are honored for their work, but in our society that doesn't happen. So it's important for us to do it. And it's not just important for them, it's just as important for us to honor them. That's a part of, oh, I don't know how to describe that exactly. You know what I'm talking about. Now, Ken was born in 1932. Burlington comes up again, but this time it's Burlington, Wisconsin. And he was one of 4 children, parents deceased when he was a child, and he was raised by an aunt and uncle after the loss of his parents. He enrolled at Northwestern Prep in Watertown, Wisconsin, and graduated from there. Then at La Crosse Teachers College, again La Crosse, Wisconsin, graduated with a bachelor's degree in teaching history, enlisted in the U.S. Army, served 2 years. Played baseball in high school, college, during military service, and as an adult. Became a volunteer baseball coach for several years. Ken has several volunteer organizations that he works with, the American Cancer Society, National Association of Life Underwriters. He worked for 35 years in the health and life insurance fields. He's organized and chaired important community events. He's including the Pretzel Fan Club, which you can explain to people if you like sometime. As regards the monetary aspect of this, in 1989, Ken started the sovereignty proposal, the sovereignty program. And he understood from his studies of money that the government could create the money supply. And he understood from various meetings, town meetings you go to, that when any project is voted on at a town meeting, any bond project for any kind of infrastructure, the cost of interest on that plan is double to triples the cost of the project. In other words, if a school building is going to cost $5 million or $10 million, let's say $5 million, after you put it into a bond, it's $15 million. If the government creates the money, you could have built 3 schools. And so he put together the sovereignty proposal program to do just that. He went around the country. At this point, he's retired. He devoted all of his savings, all of his income to this project, and this resulted in over 3,395 school boards, cities, villages, cities, counties, states signing on to this sovereignty proposal, which was to examine the potential for direct government creation, paying for these things through money creation directly from our government. And so for that, and as I've told you time and time again, he's been very instrumental in bringing people into this organization. And Ken, thank you so much, and please come.
Speech.
Thank you. He mentioned my military career, which was 2 years and 1 day. And during that time, my military career allowed me to play 1 game against the New York Yankees. I was chosen to be on an all-star team of military personnel in Japan in 1955, and New York Yankees toured Japan. And my claim to fame is throwing out Yogi twice, getting a base hit. But Billy Martin was still playing, and Billy Martin was still Billy Martin. I was in the middle of a double play, and Billy decided to cut me in half and separated my hat and my glove from my body. But it was a proud moment. But being in the military taught me one thing, and that is, in the military you don't leave your wounded behind. And we have a lot of wounded out there, and we don't dare leave them behind. And that has driven me about the American Monetary Institute and the issue that we're working hard on. So join me and continue to join me in not leaving our wounded behind.
Gibb Stuart from, I will not say England, James from Scotland, and we're pleased to honor the work of James Gibb Stuart, who's with this Lifetime Achievement Award, which recognizes and thanks him for his preeminent work in promoting monetary reform in the United Kingdom. James is a real warrior for monetary reform, and that was the real meaning of that kilt, I believe, that he wore the other day. That's how they expressed that attitude. Born in 1920, served in both the British Army, Royal Air Force during World War II, including training in Georgia, Florida, with the Canadian Royal Air Force. During his 50s and 60s, he became a successful businessman running hardware shops in western Scotland. There had been a small and vocal monetary reform movement in the UK prior to World War II, but after World War II was essentially unheard of until James revived the monetary reform movement on his own. And he did this with his book, his 1983 book, The Money Bomb. He would have brought some here, except he was worried about customs. Provocative title of this book. But it addressed the same question that we're talking about. We're on exactly the same wavelength. It addressed the question of the sovereign government creating money rather than allowing private interests to do that. He wrote other books, including Scotland and Its Money, The Economics of the Green Renaissance, which has received wide distribution, and the latest book is Fantopia. He helped influence people like Michael Rowbottom, who wrote The Grip of Death, which is perhaps the most influential monetary reform book in the UK up till now. At the end of 1999, James and Alistair McConaughey, who's how many of you remember Alistair from last year? Yeah, he's unforgettable, right? He and Alistair started a publication called Prosperity, which promotes monetary reform, specifically through publicly created debt-free money. It's the people who really study this, we come to the same conclusions. We really do. And so this is why we say it's not a matter of what has to be done. It's a matter of how it can be done and how we avoid the pitfalls of getting there. Because there are plenty of reasons why it hasn't been done till now. It's not that people haven't figured it out. The problem, it's the solution that we need to figure out. So James is also co-founder with Alistair and the organizer of the Bromsgrove Conference, which you're all invited to go there. It's a monetary reform conference. Meets outside the town of Bromsgrove near Birmingham, England, for 3 days every year. And it brings together monetary reformers from all over the world, and all of you are welcome there. I spoke there in 2004. This year is their 10th annual conference, on November 3rd through 5th. 10 years of monetary reform conference. Believe me, that's big achievement. Now, James and the Islamic world have had some interesting interactions. We heard on Friday from that DVD that he helped to advise Prime Minister of Malaysia during the Asian crisis of '98, and as a result of that advice, the Malaysian recovery was successfully defended against international speculators. And in I'll remind you, in those 5 or 6 items, I can't remember if it was 5 or 6, only one was a monetary measure, truly specifically a monetary measure. You remember what it was? The one monetary measure was harsh exchange controls on currency trade. All the other measures were closer to social measures. Don't allow the IMF to dismantle your social programs. Don't privatize. Don't make those kinds of mistakes that we are told by economics make sense. There are different types of economics, and we have to learn to distinguish between the real ones and the class warfare element there. James is a believer in reaching out to the Islamic world. In July 2005, he was honored by the UK Islamic Mission with its Community Champion Award at their National Conference. And here's a suggested closing statement from James. Quote, there's a dawning recognition throughout the world of what money really is. Just a token of wealth, not the wealth itself, a return to true democracy as governments realize they have the power to create the people's money, the democratic imperative. And James recently wrote that, I'm going to paraphrase, or this is a close quote, just a few short years ago, we might have all attempted monetary reform along several different lines. But thanks to what's happening, and I really appreciated seeing this, what's happening at AMI, that this formula that we put forward in the American Monetary Act, which is composed of 3 parts, which are nationalization of the central bank, stoppage of private creation of money. You don't have to call it 100% reserves. That brings up other questions. You just say no more private creation of money. That's the same thing, and I think that's strong. Third part of our formula, which is crucial, is the infrastructure. We're not going to leave the society high and dry. You remove the power of banking to create money. Where does new money come from? That's going to be deflationary. So you have to have that spent into circulation. And people, when you talk about this plan with economists, they go along with the first two of the elements, but they don't go along with the no creation of money, because they can't imagine where's the money going to come from. The money's going to be real money coming through expenditures direct from the government directly into valuable infrastructure, so it won't be inflationary. So anyway, what James getting off the top. James said is thanks to the developing of that attitude, of that plan, and we'll continue to develop it. It's not done yet. If with modifications, if we win this in one country, we can win it with modifications in all countries. And I think he's absolutely right. If this can get through in Australia, New Zealand, England, America, Canada, any of these countries, it'll just make it that much easier to succeed in all. So James, let me walk back there with this.
the banking system internationally. Since this latest cooperation between us and our friend over here, I've realized that if America can persuade it to do it, America and Britain between them could win through and get the rest of the international finance to accept it. That's about the thrust of the problem. Thank you.
As I said, some of these things should have been done a long time ago. So there's one more for tonight, and this one goes to Mr. Charles Walters for his work in the monetary area, in conjunction with his other important work in agriculture and in the foundation of this wonderful magazine, Acres, which he continues to contribute to seriously every issue. I've already told you how much it meant to us when he wrote about us for several issues in a row. Nothing brought more attention to us than that. Nothing that's happened to us in the 3 years since our book came out was more powerful than that. So I know what's going on there with the people who read that magazine have a very high respect for Charles, and they do what he says. So I would like to say that AMI recognizes a man with a photographic memory. Now, you have to understand that these things are prepared by people who know Charles. So some of this may get personal. Man with a photographic memory, a man who to our benefit pursued his dream of becoming a journalist and still delights in sharing his stories with us. Those valuable stories that continually educate us as few storytellers today can do. Because those stories are funny and true and come, as Ed Chambers noted, from his social education, the one that happens outside institutional education. He established an organization and a magazine which for 35 years has been a place for social dialogue and healthy living and healthy farm production. A magazine that accomplishes the healthy exchange of ideas and practices for tending to the needs of our families and friends, our neighbors, and our planet. He's also written and edited as many books as his wide-ranging interests have touched and found useful, from economics and genetics to history and nutrition to soil and weeds. What more can we say about a man whose name means strong, manly, fierce warrior? Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'll tell you what more we can say. He's come here now twice. We are really very honored he's come here to speak and to make his presence felt here and to give these marvelous talks. And the other thing we can say, he's the author of the book, Unforgiven. And you should all read that book. It's an outstanding book. It covers the farming parity question and other important questions. So please join me in welcoming Charles.
Thank you, Steve. You know, I grew up out in the Dust Bowl of Kansas, and back in those days, times were awfully hard. And I remember one day there was a meeting in the courthouse square in Ness City, Kansas, and a preacher got up and he was intoning a plea to the Lord. "Oh Lord, soften the hearts of the people out east to send us barrels of flowers, barrels of beans, barrels of food, barrels of pepper." And he kept going like that a little bit. Somebody interrupted on him from the back of the room, and he said, "Hold on there, Parsons. That's just too damn much pepper." Steve, that is a little too much pepper.
we're so honored to have as our speaker Congressman Dennis Kucinich and his wife Elizabeth, who are both going to address us. And by way of introduction, he needs no introduction, but he represents to us what Congresspeople can be and what they should be and what we deserve them to be and expect them to be. And that is an honest public servant who's devoted to helping his people and helping his country. And I'm just going to give you one little insight, perhaps, or perhaps I'm all wrong, into Dennis. This struck me in his office when I met him there in May of last year. And what I remember thinking was, there's a temple in, what is now a temple in, what's that country? Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand. And it used to be a throne room, but now it's a temple with a great, facade and things. And I sat in there for about an hour one day on a trip, 1988. And at first, I was looking just at the temple, sitting, looking at the direction of where the ruler would sit. And behind, it's quite a high structure, 3 stories high. And behind the facade, where the visitor is sitting, behind where the ruler would be sitting, were pictures of serenity, pictures of calmness, pictures of goodness, everything's fine, relax, don't worry about a thing. And that's the impression you got looking at the ruler there, the leader, or the king, whatever they had in Thailand at the time, I don't know. And fine, I got used to that. And then as I was about to leave, I saw what was on the other side. What the person sitting there, what he saw. In other words, what was visible behind the visitors. And what was behind the visitors? You'll all be to this temple at some time or another. You'll see exactly what I mean. Behind the visitors were pictures of torment and horror and all sorts of every kind of affliction and danger. And so the ruler is viewing the visitor against a backdrop of disaster and be careful and all of that type of thing. And the visitor is viewing the ruler against a backdrop of benign goodness and so on and so on. And so you understand the psychological effect that was being created and the advantage this was giving. So in Dennis's office, I noticed what's on the wall, what he's looking at when people are in his office. And I immediately put the two together. This was a similar situation. I think maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, what is in Dennis's office is a whole wall of pictures of the universe, astronomical pictures of the universe, beautiful. You've got the Horsehead Nebula in there, you've got the Andromeda Nebula, you've got all of these, what he's seeing behind the people that are visiting him is this universal background. He's seeing the whole picture. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's on purpose, maybe not. Anyway, I want to introduce now our guest of honor and speaker of honor, Congressman Dennis Kucinich. Please welcome.
First of all, Stephen, thank you very much for once again bringing us all together. And I think that everyone here knows that Stephen has really been the driving force behind bringing people in the monetary reform movement together from all over the world And that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of talent. For him, it's been a lifetime of work. And there's a little surprise for Stephen. I'm going to ask Ron Rankin to come on up here for the purpose of the presentation. Come on up. There are many people who would seek to take the opportunity to honor you tonight, Stephen, and one such person is one of our visitors from Scotland here. Ron, why don't I'll turn it over to you right now. Please join me in welcoming Ron.
Thank you very much, Dennis. It should be known right away that I am just the bag carrier to our guru over here, and that's all I am. Just a little bit before I do this about Scotland. It's probably coast to coast, about 100 miles wide, about that, coast to coast. And top to bottom, probably about 300 or 400, with a population of 5 million. And it's part of Britain, which comprises Scotland, England, and Wales. And then if you want to talk about the United Kingdom, you stick Northern Ireland on it. And that's the difference. I would say 99% of the British people haven't got a clue about what the difference is between Britain and the United Kingdom. And I always like to call it Britain and not Great Britain, because the Great has gone. The Great has not gone from America. I have always been a lover of America. I loved its freedom. I loved everything else. And I would say that the people in our country recognize the difference between a president or the presidential office, which has to be honored, and the president incumbent of that office, which is entirely different. And we know this. So don't be afraid. We love America. And I want to, excuse me, I was requested to get this thing because it's purely Scottish. It's one heck of a weight. It's a big paperweight. And you come up and see it later. And it's to all the people at AMI, but I have to give it to Stephen in recognition of all the work that he's done. And it's the Scottish thistle in glass. And that's the type of thing that also you shouldn't be afraid to grasp, because although it's got little pricklets on it, if you grasp it firmly, you can overcome it. And the same is applied to all the things that I've heard about this week, which are absolutely marvellous. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You shouldn't have. Thank you so much, James.